Hey boys and girls. Well, Bible school's different this year, isn't it? Like everything else, school and church, we're having to do Bible school different this year. Now, I'd much rather be talking to you face to face, but we just can't do that this year. So I hope you enjoy these videos, and I hope you enjoy Bible school at home this week. This week we're going to be talking about Moses. Moses was God's man for the job. Now let me tell you today about the story of Moses' birth and how it came about. Joseph had been the second in command there in Egypt for many years, and God had used him, but then Joseph died. And this new king came into power who did not know anything about Joseph, and he was so concerned because there were so many Israelites there, so many Jews there. And he said, we got to do something. And so they devised this plan to contain them. And so what they did was they divided them into work groups, and they worked them really, really hard. And they built cities, and they just really worked the Israelites really hard. But the harder the Egyptians worked them, the more children the Israelites had. There were children everywhere. The Egyptians even got to where they just didn't like the Israelites at all, and so they treated them worse than ever, and they began to work them harder and harder, and they made them miserable. They worked them so hard. And then the king of Egypt, he had a talk with two Hebrew Israelite midwives. And he said to him, he said, now when you deliver a Hebrew baby, I want you to look at if the baby's a boy or a girl. And if it's a boy, I want you to kill him. If it's a girl, let her live. Well, that was mean, wasn't it? But the midwives, they had too much love and love of God that they didn't do what the Egyptian king ordered them to do, and they let the boy babies live. And then the Egyptian king came to him and said, why didn't you obey my orders? You let those boy babies live. And the Hebrew wives answered him. They said, well, the Hebrew women aren't like Egyptian women. They're very strong. They're very vigorous. And before we could get there, they'd already had the baby. Well, God was very pleased with these Hebrew midwives. And the Israelites, they began to grow more and more in number. They became very strong. And because these midwives had honored God, God gave them families of their own. So King Pharaoh, he got to thinking again, and he said, he gave this order to his people. He says, every boy that is born, throw him in the Nile River and drown him, but let the girl babies live. Well, there was an Israelite family, a man and a woman, and the woman became pregnant, and she had a little boy. And she knew right then there was something special about him, and so she hid him. She hid him for 3 whole months. And when she couldn't hide him any longer, she got this little basket boat, and she waterproofed it, made him a little boat, and she placed this little boy child, this 3-month-old child in it, and then she put it in the Nile River among some tall reed grass on the edge of the Nile. Now this little baby boy's sister, she found herself a little spot where she could watch that was a little way off, so she could watch and see what would happen to him. And then King Pharaoh's daughter came down the bank of the Nile to take a bath, and she had some other women with her that helped her, and she sees this little basket boat floating in the reeds, and she sends one of her helpers to get it, and she opened it, and she sees this baby, and he's crying, bless his heart, he was scared, and it broke her heart. She said, this must be one of the Hebrew babies. Then his sister, the little baby's sister, went to her and said, do you want me to go and get a mother of the Hebrews so she can feed the baby and take care of him? And so Pharaoh's daughter said, yes, go ahead. And so she goes and gets the baby's mom, her mother. Isn't God wonderful how he takes care of us, like he took care of this baby? And so Pharaoh's daughter told this lady, who happened to be the baby's mother, take this baby and feed him for me, and I'll pay you. So the woman took the child and she fed him. She was being paid by Pharaoh's daughter to feed her own baby. Well, after a little while, the baby had grown, and she gives him to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her son. And Pharaoh's daughter called him Moses. Now, the name Moses means pulled out, and she named this because she pulled him out of the water. So time passes, and Moses grew up, and he became a young man. And one day he goes out and he sees his brothers, sees all these Hebrews, these Israelites working so hard. And then he sees an Egyptian hit a Hebrew, one of his relatives. So Moses looks this way and he looks that way, and when he realizes that no one was watching, he kills the Egyptian and he buries him down in the sand. Well, the next day Moses goes out there again and he sees two Hebrew men fighting, and he spoke to the man who started it, and he says, why are you hitting your neighbor? And the man hollers back at him and says, who do you think you are, telling us what to do? Are you going to kill me the way you killed that Egyptian? Well, Moses panicked. He got afraid. He said, oh no, everyone knows. People know about this. Well, King Pharaoh, he heard about it. And he actually tried to kill Moses. But Moses got away, and he goes to the land of Midian, and he sits down by a well. Now there was a priest in Midian, and he had 7 daughters. And they had come and they drew water, and they were filling the troughs and watering their father's sheep. And when some shepherds came and chased the girls off, Moses, he goes to their rescue and helped them water their sheep. So then they get home to their father, and they said to him, and he said to them, well, that didn't take long. Why are you back so soon? And they said, an Egyptian, he rescued us from a bunch of shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the sheep. And their father said, well, where is he? Why did you leave him behind? Invite him so he can have something to eat with us. So Moses agreed to settle down there with the man who gave him one of his daughters to be his wife. And they had a son. And many years later, the king of Egypt died. And the Israelites, they began to cry and to groan to God. They prayed to God because they were having to work so hard. And God heard them. And God remembered them. And God saw what was going on. And God understood. Now, next time we'll talk more about Moses and how God uses him to save the Hebrews, the Israelites. I hope you have a very good day. Enjoy the Bible school activities, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye.